No, no. Rebecca is here now. Okay. Yes. Are you the rapporteur for Rebecca's group? Okay, good. Do you want to project or do you just want to read off your computer? Something is happening, I think.
It's okay. Great.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Welcome back from lunch. So for Group A, we are looking at animal welfare situation in slaughter facilities, and we chose to do that of the national level. And at the national level, we allowed all the countries that were in our group to give us a perspective, and these are the findings. Some countries have both private and public slaughter facilities. We have some countries have only private, and some also only have public slaughter facilities. Some slaughter facilities are of good standard to ensure animal welfare and food safety. Some slaughter facilities have been set up purposely for export in some countries, and in some countries grading of meat is done, especially in Namibia, which gave their perspective and said the good grades ones are what are sent for export. And those slaughter facility for export, they are under monitoring of EU and government due to the international guidelines and the income they are going to generate. Also, in other countries, they have laws covering the slaughter, others do not have, but they have SOPs and guidelines, even those they export. In handling animals during slaughter, some countries are using good methods to ensure animal welfare and others not. Few countries using standard methods for export purposes, and others use the religious method. Butchers generally start slaughtering business by experience and sometimes part of their family work. So they grow up in the family and get used to the work of butchering. We also ask ourselves, are people ready to change the method of slaughtering to safe method? And we said yes from the group. They said people are willing, but they have issues with logistics, acquisition, and maintenance. So though sometimes we want to show them the safe method, the equipment that is needed, the crash pen and all those things, they do not have enough funds for that. And if they should get one, maintenance is also another big challenge. And we also realize that awareness is needed for the people to buy into it due to cultural barriers, because among the countries in my group, we realize that every country had specific culture, and this method that they have been used to, though are not safe, we need to create awareness for the people to buy into understand. Now, what are the strategies to improve animal welfare at slaughter? We said there should be the strategy should be country specific due to different cultures. Economic case can be made for stakeholders appreciation, because most of them have been doing those business, but they are not looked at the losses that they are making in terms of money. Awareness creation and training should be done. And some countries don't have SOPs and guidelines. It is something they should look at. And if possible, a grading system looking at the country situation. Now, some of the challenges of animal welfare at slaughter that we also realize from these countries are inadequate infrastructure and resources. And if there are slaughter facilities, they have poor slaughter design, which would have an impact on animal welfare. We also realize that there are inadequate legal frameworks in some countries. And in countries that there are legal frameworks, compliance and enforcement is also a big issue. Training and awareness is also not really done, as it is business as usual, and we hope training and awareness will be addressed. There's also poor collaboration among stakeholders, the local authorities, the veterinary services, and other transport operators and other stakeholders. There's not even any effective collaboration. Another challenge is lack of animal welfare strategy, which recognize the different cultures, meat quality, purchasing power of the people, and meat demand in some countries. For us, purchase power is of necessity, because some of the method that is being applied in developed countries, bringing into Africa, is going to be difficult because of the low purchasing power. And these were pictures given by some of our group showing good work, showing some of the slaughter practice that is being done at their end, and the down one showing some of the bad practices and the kind of meat that they saw. Thank you very much. Yes.
Rebecca, any additions? Okay. I think we'll just proceed to the next group then. And have maybe, if we have time, a short discussion afterwards. Group B, Victor, is he here? Who is your rapporteur? Malawi. Mzee. Mzee Chulu. Kuja hapa.
He was not facilitating, he was just sitting.
Are you going to be the rapporteur? Oh, okay. Do you want to connect to the project?
Yes. Okay, let me. This is a place that is having issue.
I don't know how to do this. Okay. Now your screen is off. Good.
Yes, we are Group B. Sorry, the weather of Kenya is affecting my voice, but very soon it will clear. Yes, our question is how can we deal with the realities and animal slaughter practices and customs in meeting national and international practice and standards? So we look at it holistically. This is a slaughterhouse. How can we meet the standard? We look at what are the realities that we find in our African countries, from various countries in the group. So the first thing that we look at some are Muslim, some are Christian in different countries. And many are adhered more to using Islamic method of killing animals. This one also, we have it. I've showed it earlier in my presentation. It's a barrier. If you don't slaughter it according to their own religion, they will not agree. Another thing is animal slaughter in presence of other animals. Many animals, their abattoir structure is not good, and they have to slaughter maybe within the confinement of that abattoir. Or some, they don't even have the knowledge of that welfare. But truly, if it is truly we are going to talk, even if it is you that have your sense, if they are killing people close to you, how do you feel? So they are sentenced, so they feel it too. So the third one is inadequate regulation for slaughter of animals. Many countries doesn't have it. Even if you have it, maybe it's still under review, or the old ones. The enforcement is poor, and that's another reality. So another one is poor handling of animals before slaughter. This one, we can testify. Animals that are being carried for slaughter or they are transported for slaughter, we know how we are handling them, or how are people handling them. Either they don't have the knowledge, or is the method they use. They don't know any other method. They don't even have the consent of animal welfare. So, poor handling of animals during slaughter too. When you are slaughtering animal, how do you do? One incident that somebody gave us in his country, that the way they slaughter camel is in standing position. And when they slaughter it, this camel will stand and bleed until it collapses itself. So this one is not humane, we know. But in my country, how they do it is, it's the same poncho. The only method I know, to me, is by poncho, they slaughter camel. They will tie the legs of the camel when it is down, and they will twist the neck and put it looking to the back. With that one, they will leave the camel to rest. Then at a point, when the slaughterman come, he will just puncture it within second. Maybe in 1 minute you can slaughter 10. Just puncture and just go. That's how they do. And the only reaction you will feel from that animal is just to give the action like this. And that's all. The animal will bleed until death. Yes. Another thing is poor handling facility for animals before slaughter. How is our facilities? Some abattoirs doesn't have even chute. I know animal is aggressive. Animal like camel, if you don't restrain it well, camel has long jaw. When it grabs you from the head, it can open your brain. So it's dangerous, but still they are doing it. In our WhatsApp, in our country, it has been circulating. Some people, they want to restrain camel. So when they came, they were almost lucky, knowing that the camel is looking from the above. On the process of grabbing the head, the man dodged, and the camel just grabbed the neck of his collar, and it took him off and threw him away like a ball. So it's dangerous, but still, we have to get that restraint method. If not, there is problem, even for our safety, for the safety of the animal handler. Then, another thing is poor operational planning for slaughter. Many countries, they have the abattoir, but their operational facilities are not good. Even planning, how do you plan that this is how it is going to be? They don't have it. You can have a large, no water, nothing. It's a poor welfare. They are sentient. So we look at it and we say the solutions to this is creation of awareness among all the actors. The actors are many in animal industry. If you look at it from the producer to the transporter, restrainer, the slaughter person, all of them, they play a very good role in animal welfare practice. Another one is review and development of policies and regulations. We have the laws, we have the policies, but it can be obsolete. Maybe some are 1960 something are still there. No enforcement. They have gaps. So they have to be, we need to review. Once we review it, we update it to the current situation so that we can read the international standard. Another solution is domestication of WOAH standards. At least the WOAH document, the Restrained Animal Health Code, it has given us the basics. All the countries should look at it to have direction and produce the strategies and all that they need according to their country, or what will suit their country. Another thing is enforcement. Enforcement is bad, especially in African countries. We said all the laws are there, but do we enforce it? If you look at the presentation I made, the road safety people caught somebody who tied a camel on a bike, and they were querying, is this the way of transporting this animal? These are lay people. So it's a big problem for us. So all of us, we need to look at a holistic way of bringing it into enforcement. Capacity building is not much there. When I presented, I said animal welfare looked like something that is new to many people. Even an average farmer, if you meet him, if you talk about animal welfare, he can't tell you much about it. Maybe you have had only the name, nothing more. So another thing, monitoring and supervision. Do we do that? We look at the realities earlier, and we understood that people slaughter animals informally, some at home, especially during festive period or some community. So what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to notify government for monitoring and for supervision to see how it is, because spreading of disease is critical. Now, development of adequate infrastructure facilities at all levels. If you're operating like my country, federal, states, and local governments, then At these levels, you have to begin to develop adequate infrastructure facilities for this group. If it is community, build a slab for them, because it's not much and it's occasional. So the small butchers that are there, they can be using it before the festive period. And another thing is benchmarking for best practices. Always we have to look at where best practices are practiced so that we can look at it and we can copy some and improve our standard. So the second reality, or the second thing that we look at is home or informal and emergency slaughter. I said, at home we slaughter. If I should ask anybody here or everybody, we have to attest that we have slaughtered a chicken at least in our house. So, but is it formal? Even we, the veterinarians, didn't we do it? So, we have to set a pace. Now, we look at the indiscriminate slaughter, especially during the festive period. If we are having maybe Salah festival or Christmas, if you go to everywhere, if it is Christian community, you see them gathering, slaughtering animal on an open field. If it is Muslim, the same thing. At the front of their gates, they will slaughter these animals. And really, it's supposed to be coordinated and centralized somewhere, at least, so that it can be monitored. During this period, there's inhuman method used in backyard slaughter especially, and even this front gate slaughter. They don't observe all those methods of animal welfare. So they have become scarce from the and out of reach. We have poor restraining and capture of animals before slaughter. How do you restrain our animals when we are bringing them for slaughter? Restraining is another component of animal welfare. You have to be humane. So we look at it and say, okay, some of the solutions that can minimize this is we need to minimize the practices. By what? Capacity building and the rest. Awareness creation. We have to go through these things, either through media or capacity building or workshop or whatsoever means that we can do. Let's make people aware that this thing is important. So, also, if it is community that has a slab where they will come together and slaughter, let them notify the area veterinary officer if it is local government, so that when they come, they will look at what you are doing, and they can even have the opportunity of doing some meat inspection also. So, that is paramount. Another one is on-farm or community slaughter, which we have seen that there is inadequate slaughter facilities. We slaughter anyhow, which is captured already. So inadequate implementation of animal welfare standards is there. There is no way you say you slaughter these animals in an open field and you're expecting them to observe the issue of animal welfare. During that period, there's inadequate monitoring. If you are scattered, how can one person monitor? Before you come here, maybe some people have already done and finished. So monitoring and supervision is an issue. Talk less of data collection. So data collection is another key that we are talking about in this our workshop. So what are the solutions? It's good to construct a good facility in well-established farms. We have to encourage community slaughter slab and regular monitoring, supervision, and data collection. Then finally, we should build capacity of people that are in charge of these activities. Thank you.
Victor or anyone else from that group, any additions? No? Okay. Apparently you did an excellent job, so thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, there is a question, sorry.
Okay.
Do we have a microphone here?
Thank you. Can you hear? You can hear. Yeah, you can hear me. Sorry, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened after lunch. Yeah, it was just a question about your solutions and the recommendation to encourage the communities lab. So in our group we had a discussion, and I've never seen one, but for what I understand is quite basic. So a lot of the handling facilities that you may need to restrain or to move animals around are not there in the slaughter slabs. So I wonder if you encourage the community slaughter slabs instead of structures or facilities that have better infrastructure. Is that the way forward? I mean, is there a particular reason why would you encourage a community slaughter slab and not something with more facilities than that?
Actually, we look at the different classes in African perspective. So when you look at it, what is existing in reality is that either on farm slaughter, home, or in abattoirs. And these places, some villages, if they tell you go there, you will not go. Even if they tell the area veterinary officer to go there, you will not go. But it's a large community. They are scattered. So when they are organizing their festive, how can you monitor? So in this kind of, it's better you encourage them to do a community slab where they can slaughter together. But in a city whereby you can get access to these people, you can get access to fertility like chute, we said it, chute is one of the important facilities that you can restrain animals like cattle. I mentioned in our group that we went for a treatment in a farm in Kano State, and there was no facility. So we wasted time there, and I'm the doctor, I want to finish what I want to do and go. So I took the bull by the horn. As that moderate age bull is moving, I just cut the rope. It dragged more than 500 meters on the ground. So I learned my lesson. I will not do it again. But there, if you tell them to do chutes, even the cost, they may not agree. But if you have a good restrainer, they can help. So where there is no means of doing it, we encourage that slab. But where you can do the chute so that it can serve the purpose, is encouraged. That is it.
Thank you.
Okay, maybe she'll add.
Thank you. You can hear me now. So when we recommended for the community slaughter slabs or facilities, we are looking at the poultry situation, especially in some of our countries, Kenya being included, whereby we do have our farmers, especially maybe around the Nairobi metropolitan, specifically the Kajiado area, whereby we do have home slaughter. They keep quite a number of birds, maybe 2,000, 1,000, and they do that home slaughter. Why? Because poultry has not been a traditional commercial food animal. Therefore, there are these upcoming farmers. We do not have proper government designated slaughter facilities at their vicinity. So what do you do? What do we do? Maybe as government, we are not ready to provide those facilities at that point in time. And we can't, again, tell them, no, you can't do this. So what do we do? Maybe we need to encourage the inspectors, the farmers to have basic facilities, sanitary facilities whereby these birds can be slaughtered in a sanitary manner, and there is the visit of that inspector, the meat inspector, who can do the inspection before these animals are dispatched to the market. Thank you. That was the idea of the community slaughter slabs. Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll move to the third group, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. see, I think that could be Leopoldo's group who was sitting outside, and it's Andrea who is going to present, apparently, with the old-fashioned technique of handwritten notes.
Thank you. So our group was facilitated by Leopoldo, and we had Mauritius, Liberia, Eswatini, Tanzania, Kenya, and South Africa. So we decided to look at the different countries and see what we had in common and what was different. So that was our approach. So we started with the legislation, and what we found was that only 2 countries had animal welfare included in their meat safety or veterinary public health legislation. So one is in the actual act and one is in a bill. So I'm just going to quickly read from the South African Act, just the one line that is there, which states that an animal presented for slaughter at an abattoir must be handled humanely during loading, transportation, offloading, housing, immobilizing, and killing, as prescribed in accordance with the requirements of the Animal Protection Act. So it makes reference to the welfare legislation in the Meat Safety Act. What we also found was that all countries had meat inspectors. So some of these were paid by government, some were private. And what we also found was that there was also involvement with some of the countries with the municipalities. So government and municipalities were involved in management of the abattoirs. We also saw that the species that were slaughtered, so cattle, sheep, goats, pigs, and poultry. Mauritius also slaughtered deer, and South Africa also game. So South Africa is also working on a regulation to exempt game, because the current regulations do not allow for a dead animal to be presented at an abattoir. So this is a regulation that's being worked on. The number of slaughterhouses, so Mauritius had 1 slaughterhouse, Liberia 3, Tanzania 6, Kenya 7, Eswatini more than 30, and South Africa, I've just looked, has about 470 abattoirs. When we looked at the methods, so mostly stunning is used, stunning in slaughter, and then we had a few we have some cultural exemptions. So in South Africa and Mauritius, the Meat Safety Act, or the legislation for meat, does exempt cultural or ritual slaughter. Most of the slaughter, like I said, was with stunning, and that's with captive bolt, but there was also mention of blunt force trauma, so that's also used quite a lot, and some are also using the gas chambers. There was also mention of, in South Africa we have mobile abattoirs, but the other countries also mentioned slaughter slabs, so that's something that we also discussed. So at the slaughter slabs, there's no stunning. There are some welfare concerns because there isn't really oversight at those slaughter slabs. There's also no meat inspection that's going to take place there. With regards to cultural and religious slaughter, these are generally for own consumption, so that meat is not sold. And we've also learned that it does happen in Kenya as well, but it's not exempt in terms of the legislation. So in discussing the way forward, we've discussed that there needs to be a review of legislation and legal frameworks, implementation of guidelines, policies, standards, and VPNs. There also needs to be engagement with police forces or other for enforcement and compliance. We need to also increase education, awareness, and training. We also discussed the need for political support or political buy-in, coordination of meat safety activities, and lastly, to think of the slaughter process as an entire chain from on the farm until we get to the actual slaughter process. So the entire process, including animal handling, transport, etc. Thank you.
This was Leopoldo's group, right?
Yes.
Leopoldo, any additions? Comments from the other members who strongly disagree with what you said, maybe? I don't know.
No, it was perfect. Thank you. I don't remember if you mentioned that there was 2 countries that they had some slaughterhouses that were accredited for export. Then that could be, I say could be, depend on the destination market, a way to also to improve the condition. In Eswatini, I think it's an abattoir that is approved for the EU for export, and then it's obvious that they need to follow some welfare standard to export. The other ones, I think that they were more directed to the Gulf area. Then I don't know if there was that kind of certification that is for the EU. But I think that it could be a way, at least for example in Chile, it's a way that some abattoirs try to improve their conditions because they are expecting to export to markets with a higher value that normally they ask for more welfare conditions. That is, but if not, it was perfect. Thank you. And other members of the group wanted to add something?
I think even in the PVS system, we acknowledge that a focus on export is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not like you're discriminating your national markets. Very often, a focus on export helps you meet certain standards that then, as a spillover effect, also improve your national markets. So in the PVS system, you actually get points to achieve compliance with export conditions, even if you don't meet the same conditions in your national market. But the expectation is that, as you progress, you could actually spread out this compliance across the country and not just for the sake of exports. Lisa?
Yes, have some experience with exports. The barrier to promoting export markets from Africa tends to be diseases. So for avian influenza, for instance, the requirement is disease freedom for an entire year, or which is not achievable for most countries. And for cattle, we've never been able to actually export meat from cattle because the market, we don't produce enough meat for ourselves, so there's hardly anything left over to export. And there's foot and mouth disease, which is a barrier to trade. And then there is also, for pigs, it's African swine fever. So Africa is unfortunately endowed with quite a few transboundary diseases that prohibits us from actually promoting these export markets.
Since you have the floor and the microphone, would you like to send your rapporteur to...
It's supposed to be Ethiopia.
Are you going to report back? Oh, okay.
Thank you, Doc. Good afternoon. The fourth group, which is comprises from different countries, South Africa, South Sudan, Lesotho, Zambia, Mozambique, and Ethiopia. You can appreciate their, you also introduce with their flags, national flags, and you can see also their pictures also. This is a group. So, yeah, as my friends say that the different countries, they present their experiences. So in general, they presented that all agree that there is a spectrum of bad and good facilities of abattoirs in their countries. Private owned facilities are better than public owned facilities in general. In South Africa, slaughterhouse and inspection are privatized. In most cases, they are not public goods. And in most of the countries, there is stunning of animals before slaughter, but it's not up to date. The stunning is some kinds of traditional and obsolete. But let's say to have good experience or better experience with stunning on poultry compared to other livestock animals. So this was a general discussion. We do have a lot of things was going on, but to compile to one and to for the sake of time, we conclude that we need to have a legal framework that can be the country should have a legal framework so that they will consider all the animals when they move all the way along the value chain from loading till slaughter. And we need to have a guideline and procedures, which are standard operating procedures, guidelines, and so on, so that in every step the animal welfare will be kept. And also the second one which we are looking for is the facilities. Facilities need to be improved, because when talk about welfare, welfare is realized when the facility is appropriate and good. So we need to have appropriate facilities, so that to have this we need to have a standards of abattoirs. For example, for export abattoirs, because they get a lot of money, they build state-of-the-art abattoirs. But for the local people, we need also to consider, like we should put, like in Ethiopia we do have export abattoirs which are very high quality, and we do have different local abattoirs which are not standard to the level we want. So we put like a kind of standard A, B, C, D, which is the export level. The second one is people who live in mega cities, and second, third, like that. So the fourth one is a slab, which is where there is little infrastructure, but you have to accommodate the people which are using such kinds of facilities. So we need to have to develop such kinds of standards. Then we need to have appropriate vehicles for animal transport. We need to have roads, beddings, disinfectants, clean water supply, electricity, roads, technologies, etc. Because welfare will not come by itself. It needs to be supported by facilities. So those facilities need to be in place. For example, if you want to stand, if the electricity is not there, what will you do? So you have to put alternative technologies for that, like solar technology, or a kind of new technologies which are appropriate and feel comfortable for the animal. The third one is capacity building. We need to capacitate and educate the people which are working along the value chain, from the one who attend the animal and who load the animals, and those transporters, and all the way to the inspectors and that of veterinarians and para-veterinarians. So we need to train those all people about animal welfare, animal handling, animal transport. Then the fourth one is operation of the facilities has also its own impact. We see that in our respective countries, those abattoirs which are owned by private sector perform much more regarding animal welfare and fulfilling all the facilities which are needed for animal welfare. So, and in some countries we also see this public-private partnership, which is also a good experience. So we need to consider different approaches that will help to the welfare of animal, because management, administration, and ownership has its own impact on the welfare of the animal. So I'll say thank you, and I try to write with their respective languages. So if I make a mistake, I'm sorry, but I mean that to be accommodative. And I will say in my local language, አመሰግናለሁ. Thank you so much.
Prof, any additional comments on your rapporteur or other people from the group? I see none. Okay. Yes, Lisa. Can you take a microphone to Prof?
No, I don't have anything additional to add.
Okay. Thank you. Leo, would you like to wind up this session? We have 10 minutes left. I'm sure you've been collecting. I thought we have, at the very least, I think we have a good basis for a very interesting paper, I think, on the variety of legislation on animal welfare and slaughter in Africa. Already the work that your group did is like a pretty good basis to start writing a paper.
Yeah, I always started to think about writing papers, and at the end it's like preparing the presentation for this seminar. No, I think that from my personal perspective, I think that I have learned a lot. I just wanted to mention the idea of the slaughter of species that are not necessarily mentioned explicitly in the chapter, like deer, that can arrive to the slaughterhouse in different ways as part of a consignment, or also part of or being part of the carcasses that have been hunted. Then, but I would like to say that I think that if I go back to yesterday, there is a lot of common things that are between the transport chapter related to animal welfare and these ones. We heard a lot about regulatory framework, and in that sense, I would like to mention once again the possibility of members to request a veterinary legislation support program, which is something that, if I'm not wrong, maybe yes, but I'm quite sure that there have been no mission on that program or related to animal welfare to develop animal welfare and animal welfare regulation, or to review animal welfare regulation. Then I remembered that last year forum, David Sherman was also quite active in mention the possibility that in the framework of the PVS pathway, members could ask for a veterinary legislation support mission. Then that is something to have in mind, listening to all of you, that there is a lot of problems or even in existence of regulatory framework in those two areas, or the areas that we have been discussing. I think that the creation of awareness, it's also something that it's quite important. I don't know how to deal it. Yesterday we discussed to start as soon as possible at school age, but also it's important to also educate our veterinary staff. then it is something that I heard that was a repetition from yesterday presentations. I think that I don't have anything much to add. Just also thank you for your participation and also engagement, and I think that, as I said, I have learned a lot also from your presentations.
Okay, Julius.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm very happy that I came. Next time I will not come. You know, I'm already selecting a new focal point. But what I wanted to add to this conversation is that every group talked about the legislation be unique to their local situation. So I'm very happy in South Africa they've privatized the abattoirs, but the meat inspection is still under government, so there is still government control. And in most countries, in Kenya maybe, in Malawi, we have got what we call a constitution. And the constitution protects what happens in the country's environment. How to protect the animals, how to protect the people, everything else. When it comes to veterinary surgeons in terms of animal welfare, day one competencies are prescribed by WOAH, but the local country tells the vet what he has to do in terms of a decision they have to make when there is an emergency in terms of an animal, whether the animal is sick or is broken limbs. The vet has to make the best professional decision. The law protects them. Whatever the vet prescribes, if it's a proper vet, not somebody who pretends to be a vet, whatever decision they make, the law would stand by what the vet prescribes. So depending on wherever we are coming from, opinions are allowed, but if a professional opinion, the vets, the country law protects them. So in terms of slaughter, we cannot prescribe a one-size-fits-all. Some animals will still have to be slaughtered by the roadside if a vet has made that decision and he thinks it's good for the animal's welfare. We cannot move that animal from Kasina to Lagos just because the good facility is in Lagos. So the vet has to make a professional decision within the prescription of the law of their countries. I just wanted to add that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think with this we can close the chapter on slaughter, at least as far as this training is concerned, and then move to the last session of the day, the last technical session of the day, which will deal with livestock and animal welfare and emergencies. And for this I will invite Daniela to join us here and present her presentation. Before I do another blunder, do we have a chairperson for this session? Jane, you are chairing this session. So you need to have a microphone, you need to have the official chairperson thingy, and you need to take an oath of allegiance. You are now officially chairperson. So you will have to ask her whether it's okay to start talking.
You have to tell me when I can start.
Yeah, just hold on. Thank you. At this juncture, we are going to be taken through our 7th session, which is animal welfare in emergencies. And the first person who will take us through is Daniela, and she will take us through animal welfare in the provision of live animals in emergencies, the FAO programs, Daniela, you're welcome, you can start.
Thank you, Jane.
You only have 20 minutes.
I'll try to be faster. Thank you, Jane, and good afternoon to everybody. So again, as yesterday, the day before yesterday, I will try to, since I'm not going to have enough time to go into detailed information, but I will try to leave you with enough reference on where to find additional information in case needed. And I hope you're not going to need it because we're talking about emergencies. So we're talking about a situation that you don't want to go through. However, what is very interesting that the work we do is not only how to face emergency, but also how to prepare or how to avoid emergencies, how to build resilience in case of emergency. So even if emergencies are not there, this information and access to these programs are always useful, again, to avoid possibly or to prepare on how to react better to those emergencies. And when I'm talking about emergency, I'm talking to a wide range of unfortunate situations. Some of them are man-made, like the case of conflicts and war and so on, or even caused by a bad management of territories and so on, or indirectly caused by climate change, for instance. Some are natural disasters, and again, there are some link also to what could be man-made. So the case of drought, for instance, given to climate change or not, or the case of flooding, or the case of, volcano eruption and so on. And there is a wide range of situations where FAO has intervened. Again, not only preparing population and government services to react, but also in the case of the emergency itself, helping people and helping animals. So since we're talking about animals here, to survive, to have enough feed, to have enough health care. So in many situations, what the emergency we provide is going with feed, healthcare, vaccination, veterinary drugs, and whatever is needed to face the first phase of the emergency, and then also building the livestock owners in case they have lost the animals to rebuild the herd, to rebuild what was lost. So that's where animal welfare is connected in a double way, not only taking care of the welfare of the animals and their needs in the first moment, but also, for instance, when we're talking, in many cases, we are talking about transport of live animals to rebuild the herd, then we have to take care of, for instance, good animal welfare condition during the transport, the handling of the animals to the new owners, and so on. But just let's have a look at what are the different situations in which we provide that kind of support. So, as I was saying, we have work on emergency resilience in a very wide range of situations. So, normally, as I was saying, we support people and government to prepare for those and possibly to avoid this, to respond, and then also reducing the risk, but also trying to reduce as much as possible the impact of those emergencies once they're there. This is just giving you a quick image of the range of different activities and action and situation. Going more specifically, for instance, in the unfortunate case of conflict, we do support the population, like in this case, just taking an example from the region in Niger. So supporting especially transhumant populations. We were talking about the transhumans yesterday in being affected as little as possible, and especially taking care of their animals, as I was saying before, with the provision of feed, veterinary care, and vaccination if needed, and so on. In the case of climate action, again, drought, flooding, and so on. But they are also very much under our work, the animal health emergencies. So the case of specific diseases, in many cases, those are transboundary, so that's where FAO intervenes even more to support countries that cannot only, that don't have to deal at national level, but they have to prevent diseases coming from other countries. So in the case of, again, unfortunate case of many emergencies happening in the latest years, that's where FAO provides its help. And again, in different ways. For instance, in the animal health emergencies, again, during the disasters like climate change, but also we support with early warning and disease intelligence, as I was saying before, trying to prevent or to react as soon as possible in the case of an emergency, preparedness and response. For all that, we have very specific programs, of which I think you are you should be aware of. For instance, the Empress for animal health, because we have also Empress for plant health and food safety. The Emergency Management Center that does more intelligence work, data collection, and so on. And I think, so as I was saying, it's regarding preparedness, response, incident coordination, resource mobilization. So it has more that kind of coordinating role, very much in collaboration with other intergovernmental organizations. And I believe something that most of you, or many of you, are familiar with is the program so-called ECTAD, especially because here in Kenya there is a big regional hub of the project. So I think I see some of you nodding. I think you are very familiar to that program. Most of these programs rely also on guidelines, on publication. They give indication on how to handle animals, how to treat animals, how to implement the activities, how to do that emergency work. So one of those is this manual for the management of operation, doing specifically animal health emergency, and another one again doing emergency. So in all of our publication, in all of our field work, we do take care of animal welfare, and just this is a quote, a specific quote of one of these manuals, and we do refer to the WOAH recommendation and the WOAH manual as the reference for how animals have to be treated in the case of transport, as I was saying before, when animals are provided after an emergency or disaster and so on, or for instance in the case of when animals have to be stamped out during an animal health emergency, so again referring to the welfare of animals during killing. So again, for FAO, the WOAH standards are the reference, and those are indicated in all our work dealing with emergencies, so that to have everybody on the same page and using the best appropriate available guidance for the time being. I have not referred to the work that we have been doing with LEX, because after my presentation there will be the presentation from LEX. So I believe that our colleague will refer to the work that we have been doing in collaboration with the LEX group, and how FAO has also produced guidelines that complement or are applicable in FAO intervention, which are coordinating complementing the work with LEX. So I believe she will refer to that, and otherwise I will be happy to complement this information on how we are using also the LEX guideline and how it's complemented by FAO guidelines. And with that again, if you want to have more information, of course you can go to all the websites on the specific topics, activities I was mentioning. Again, be part of our network, keeping informed through our mailing lists, and to do so, just get in touch with me and you will have the information. I'm here for any other question, either now or later on during the day. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Daniela. That was quite good. We have some minutes for those people who may have comments or questions. Comments? This one here.
Thank you so much. Definitely I commend FAO for the work that they are doing in different parts of the country, especially in the developing countries like in Africa. In my own country, they are doing a lot. But I still want to appeal to FAO to still consider more, because with these emergencies, changes in environmental conditions, which led to a lot of disaster, especially the burning of the bush, mostly in the dry season. So animals are left out without, pasture or grass to feed. So it's like, they are wasted, and then, during the dry season, we register a lot of mortalities. So all this, it contributes to food insecurity, as well as, it affects the livelihoods of the general farmers. So in the Gambia, what we are looking at in collaboration with the Department of Livestock Services is to see how best to upgrade the rangelands, countrywide, to see how best we can protect these rangelands, and also ensure that we have water reticulation systems in these rangelands, so that even in the dry season, at least we can be irrigating the areas, and then we'll be having, fresh grasses. So the animals will not even be moving, trekking for long distances, because in every catchment area, which comprise of clusters of communities, they have rangelands. So if you develop these rangelands with pasture and fodder, so these animals will stay. During the dry season, they can be there at least to fend with the little that they have. So we are seeing that, but I'm seeing that FAO is trying to see what we can do together to enhance that project. Thank you.
Thank you for the complimentary testimony from the country of what is going on. And I believe in the Gambia there is also a very strong TRIPS program, very historical since many, many years. There's been a lot of work done for trypanosomiasis and so on. Thank you again for sharing the information with the other colleagues. Thank you.
Yes, do you have any other comment? Silence means consent. Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you.
Yeah, we move. Let's appreciate a better round of applause. Yes. This time we'll give to Leopoldo to take us through the WOAH guidelines on disaster management and risk reduction in relation to animal health and welfare and veterinary public health. Welcome, Leopoldo. You also have 20 minutes, but if you can save a few minutes, the better. I know there are people here who want to sample Nairobi.
Thanks. For sure, I will take less being this my last presentation during this 3 nice days. Then, if you miss me, you can ask Bas for the recording of the sessions if you still want to hear my voice. Then I will go through the WOAH guidelines on disaster management and risk reduction in relation to animal health and welfare and veterinary public health. This presentation also I received the excellent collaboration of my colleague Paolo Dalla Villa, who is the technical officer on disaster management and animal welfare, also in the office in Brussels of WOAH. And also Paolo was part of the ADO group that also developed the guidelines some time ago. I
always have to click on this one first to overcome the Zoom filter. And now it should be working. No, it's still not working. Again. Now it should be working.
Okay. Yeah, now it's working. Okay, then a little bit of history. In 2016, we start developing these activities. Also was a request from some members, and we developed these guidelines on disaster management. At the beginning, the work was mainly to focus on animal welfare, but in some point the Director General at that time wanted to include also animal health and welfare and animal health and veterinary public health. Then we work based on the definition on a disaster from the United Nations. A disaster is a serious disruption of the functioning of a community or a society involving widespread human, material, economic, or environmental losses and impact, which exceeds the internal resource coping ability of the affected community or society. Since the development of this guideline, also even at WOAH headquarters, it was create a new department, the Preparedness and Resilience Department, that has been working in a big project, mainly oriented to the effect or the consequences of bioterrorism activity. And also there was some developments like these guidelines for simulation exercise that were quite focused on that area. But as a lot of documents from WOAH can be used also in other contexts. Then from our guidance, I'm not going to say anything very new and impressive. There is a various impact on animal welfare in a disaster. If there are due to infectious disease, geological events, adverse weather, we're talking about the drought here, technological disaster and contamination, transport and maritime accidents, and agrocrime, which is more or less the main focus of the project that we have been developed at the WOAH headquarters. From the guidelines, we worked through based on the emergency management cycles. That means that we cover the preparedness as the state of be ready and capable of with human resources and material resources, structure, community and organization that enable them to ensure the effective rapid response to a disaster obtained as a result of action taken in advance. Then we started, it's a cycle, but we can start in preparedness, then the response, the recovery, and mitigation and prevention. Then the document that it's available in the WOAH website works and give some direction based on this emergency management cycle. Then from that definition that I already mentioned from the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, one important aspect is the contingency plans, which means a management process that analyzes specific potential events or emergency situations that might threaten society or the environment and establish arrangement in advance to enable timely, effective and appropriate response to such events and situations. This was taken from the EU civil protection mechanisms, and we already also emphasize the importance of contingency plan or emergency plans in other areas, like in transport, that could be also become a disaster in a specific area. But more important of the guidance and the work and the other group that developed the guidance were quite focused on how the veterinary service contingency plan or the veterinary service itself, it's embedded in the whole emergency system of the country. And here you can find a scheme where the veterinary contingency plan for animal disease, for example, or any hazard, other hazards, acknowledged within the overarching national framework of emergency management. Then there need to be a conversation and inclusion of the veterinary services activities on disaster management and risk reduction regarding other plans, other also agencies that work in this area, even the private sector plans and also the national plans that normally are established to this kind of situations. And as part of the work that it has been done, that this is mainly through the Brussels office, because they are quite active, especially in the WOAH platform on animal welfare, in some specific areas of the European region, maybe in the Balkan countries. There was also a study that it was developed by the Lincoln Memorial University to see the level of preparedness of on animal welfare of the veterinary service. Then there was a survey distributed in the 53 European members. And the outcome of this study contributed to identify the strengths and the weakness in this area of the countries that responded the survey. Then from the question number 14, what are the major gaps or shortages in animal welfare in disaster preparedness and response? Then there are 4 main and top gaps. Budget, which is something that we have been talking for all the 3 days. Trained personnel, also we have been talking about, then is something that is more or less common. Equipment and supplies, we talk about also infrastructure already for transport and for slaughter, and legal authority, that also it's something that we just mentioned in the 4 presentations on slaughter. Then it's something that is also a repetition. Then it's important to have it in mind, because it could be also important to reflect that is in all the activities of the veterinary services. But we are talking now about disaster preparedness and response. Then the main take-home message for WOAH in this area is that the WOAH guidelines on disaster management for national veterinary services and the guidelines for simulation exercise that I already mentioned, that are the last work developed by this new department, provide a detailed overview of the process to follow for the development of national frameworks of the management and epidemic and non-epidemic emergency. Then one important message is that the veterinary service should be activate and maintain a proactive attitude toward contingency plan and be prepared when risks for natural disaster are greater and where communities and animals have fewer resources to mitigate, survive, and recover from different types of disaster. I can say that also it's something that we have been discussed during this training, the need to be proactive in contacting other agencies. I mentioned it, for example, the standard organization related to the ISO technical specification. It could be the other authorities. We talk about the police, when we talk about the transport, and even today in slaughter, then veterinary service in this area need also to be proactive in contact also the other agencies that work in this area. I can mention, I don't know, is the same or they exist, that kind of structure in your countries, like the Civil Protection Authority. That's, for example, in the case of Chile, depends on the Ministry of the Interior. Then it should be a communication and an engagement with those actors to also try to include what is or what has been developed in terms of protecting the animals, which at the end is protecting the livelihood of the people that work with them. Very short, thank you very much, merci y muchas gracias.
Let's give him a better clap. Yeah, you know, this is quite an interesting topic, animal welfare in emergencies, because mostly we talk about slaughter, transport, and we forget that sometimes there's floods and landslides and all that. and having some guidelines, at least we have something to use. This juncture, I will request anybody who has a question.
Maybe before the question, I would like to also add that all these guidelines need to be also read in conjunction with the chapters. You mentioned when it is a disaster situation, you need to evacuate some animals, then transport are included. Sometimes you need to call the animals because it's impossible to move them. Then it's the chapter on killing for disease control, but also the revised version of that chapter that will include, in a way, this kind of situation. There is there is a lot of chapters also in production system that emphasize the need of have a contingency plan for natural or man-made disasters. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the plenary?
All right. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. Yeah, mine is not a question; it's a comment, and I just feel I just opened my eyes that I think the issues of animal welfare in I don't know if it's cut across other African countries that are here, but I think it was not well put in the mainstream of government. So as much as we need support from FAO, IUIBA, and other support groups, I think it requires in some of our government institutions to have a department or a directorate or a division where these issues can be handled. I don't know if it's the same with other countries where you will need a budget specifically for animal welfare issues. So thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to appreciate all that.
Okay, I greet us once. Mine is directed to Daniela. According to the topic here, it said animal welfare in the provision of live animals in emergencies, FAO program. This one, is it run like ECTAD or how is it go? Does it run like ECTAD?
No, it's not through ECTAD because ECTAD is specific for animal health emergencies. So, like in the case of infectious diseases or anything that has to do with animals that have an emergency that is due to animal health problems. The case you're mentioning, provision of live animals, is when there is a natural disaster, or in the case of war and so on. So where the national health is diminished, is lost. So for the livelihood of the people, of the population, FAO can provide live animals to rebuild the herd. So that case is a completely different FAO department. It's a department that deals only with emergency, any kind of emergencies. So it's still through your national FAO office that the Nigerian government, deals with and get that kind of support. But it's not the ECTAD program. It's a completely different department because we are talking about issues of a different nature. I mean, problem of a different nature. It's not animal health, but we give directly animals, and that's also the case when we give feed or vaccine or veterinary drugs or whatever else is needed for the animals in the case of natural or man-made emergency, but not an animal health emergency. I don't know if it's clear enough. Okay, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Mine is an input to answer what was asked by my brother from Namibia. That's a very strong concern about the allocation of funds specifically for animal welfare at the member state level. that problem cuts across all the way up to the AU. The AU IBA has got no budget for animal welfare. We depend on support from partners or projects which are also funded by partners. So my point is that if that indeed is a problem that we recognize, which I think we need to recognize that problem, given that it's not just the WTO that is looking up to WOAH to set standards for animal welfare as a condition for market access. AFCFTA has also adopted that. And therefore the procedure, what normally happens, is that the member states recognize this is a problem, and then you request AU IBA to address that issue, which means that now an exercise is taken to collect this common view by the member states, which is advanced through the STC, and then from the STC to the African Union Commission for a decision to become a common position by Africa that member states are urged or encouraged to have specific budgets for animal welfare within their annual budgets. That is how, that was the journey that was taken by the Malabo Declaration, for the Malabo Declaration to be done, when it was recognized that livestock is not as considered, or agriculture, the investment in agriculture is not as good as in other areas. So for Africa to focus on that, there's an initiative that must arise from the member states. Thank you. I hope that's it.
It's okay.
Yes, sorry. With the area of interventions, mostly in terms of emergencies, like in Sierra Leone, over the years we've realized that most times when there are emergencies, the people that are affected do not get help. It's just because we do not have policy that we help, even in advocating for help for those people. So in our animal welfare bill, we try as much as possible to add a compensation. I think plans like, at least in the area of emergency, we will see how those people that are affected, they are able to get help from humanitarian organizations. So that plan, there is going to be a plan or a strategy which we'll use to see that those that are affected, they have. So it has to start with the country to see how they put system in place. Whenever emergency comes, even for sourcing help, you'll be able to use your document. So that is what we are planning to do. Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I comment? First, one comment regarding the colleague from AU-IBAR. Remember that animal welfare is not under the SPS agreement of the WTO, then it cannot be, we heard it during the sessions, that cannot or will be not considered as a trade barrier, but that could be evolved. And regarding the budget for this kind of activities, because of that, probably the group that developed this work, working in that design where the veterinary service plan is embedded in the more national plan, and then it's because of that I mentioned that you need to contact the authorities that are dealing with the national actions in regarding disaster management, and there it could be possible to have some small amounts of budget. That is the case in Chile for example, transport animals, to provide feed animals in case of need, etc. But it's quite important to work together with other agencies, because alone it will be difficult, I think, for every country to solve this kind of problems, because disasters are quite a big thing.
Okay. Yes? Are you Aiba? Are you Aiba? What do you want?
Yeah, yesterday, the time we went for the dinner, in our table, we were discussing about this, about AU IBA emphasizing that, funding is a major problem for their activities. And today, you emphasize it again, that you are not getting support from the African Union. And that's a major gap if you look at the role of AU IBA to be able to support the state governments or nations to be able to deal with some of these animal welfare issues, especially with emergencies. How do we compensate if there are disasters, disease outbreaks, animal has to be killed? How can we support livestock owners to restore what the losses? And then also vaccinations, because we cannot get increase in our livestock population if we are not vaccinating our animals. We have killer diseases, we have diseases that we can control in terms of treatments. But diseases that we cannot treat, we use vaccines. And then we need vaccines to be able to control those diseases so that as the population, I think the other guy, sorry to say guy, my colleague there, emphasized that the population of Africa is going to increase by 2050, 2.4 billion. So which means the need for protein for the continent is going to increase. So if our livestock population is not increasing, so this will be a big problem for African countries to depend entirely, for protein source for us, importation. So we know another guy also emphasized the purchasing power, So which means poverty is going to be hardly hit into the continent. So what I'm suggesting here is AU IBA has to see how best they can mobilize resources internally within Africa through fundraising, through donor relations. For me, I think there are prospects within Africa itself. There are businesses, there are agencies, if AU IBA or the African Union can work with, they can be able to mobilize more other resources to be able to do, some of those activities, or support to some of our emergency support. Thank you.
Well, I don't know if you expect me to respond to that, but I'll tell you that the director is coming. She's better positioned to address the issues you're raising. But from where I said, I can inform you that AU IBA does a lot in terms of helping resource mobilization to support the member states to achieve what they have already identified as important to them. But the key thing is, the take-home message is that the AU IBA is a driver of what the member states needs to get to the Commission through the STC. So really, by the end of the day, it all depends on the data collection that we're talking about, especially if I can zero myself down to animal welfare. It is absolutely important that by the time we go home, we commit to provide data that will enable decision making, other than do a lot of resource mobilization through clever talk. It is through evidence. That is what the decision makers with the resources rely on. Thank you very much. But for the rest, please, the director will be here shortly. You'll probably, I don't know if there's room for that in this program. But another thing I would say is that engagements with the member states is a continuous problem. A continuous issue for AU IBA, because it exists there to serve you. So even if we cannot address those issues here now, opportunities to raise those issues to AU IBA are always there when you're engaging with them. Thank you very much.
You're looking at me, and I'm
Okay, thank you. I think we are okay now. At this juncture, we have one presentation from Kathy Watson. It's on the livestock emergency guidelines and standards.
Hi, Kathy. Can you hear us well?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome, Kathy.
Thank you.
Can you try to increase your microphone level?
I'll get closer to the
Closer to the microphone, maybe. Yes.
Yeah. Is that better?
Thank you. Go ahead. Thank you for being here.
Right. Let me just set my screen sharing on my presentation, and while I'm doing that, I'll just say good afternoon to you all, and thank you for this opportunity. It's great to be able to be with you, at least remotely, and share a little bit. A brief presentation on the Livestock Emergency Guidelines and Standards, or LEGS for short, and I welcome this chance to talk to you briefly about that today. You've already been discussing, it's clear, over the last hour, and I'm sure before that, about the impact of disasters and emergencies on animal welfare, and there's a lot of references on the WOAH site, I can see, as the website as well. And LEGS focuses on this, on the impact of disasters and emergencies, and was initiated specifically in response to concerns that livestock relief projects were often poorly implemented or even overlooked completely. So the rationale for LEGS is that there were noted nearly 20 years ago concerns about cycles of inappropriate and badly implemented livestock relief projects based on poor analysis. Local capacities and services were often overlooked or undermined, and urgency and timing were often given as the excuse for this, but assistance was often late, even when in theory there should be time to prepare for example, in slow onset droughts. Impact assessment was limited, and there was weak coordination between development and emergency. And there was an international workshop in Nairobi, as you are now, in 2004, organized by WOAH, focusing on livestock and livelihoods in complex emergencies. And at that meeting, the need for some independent guidelines to address these concerns was identified, and that was the beginning of LEGS. So LEGS is therefore a set of independent international standards using evidence-based good practice to support livestock-based responses in emergencies. It is designed for the humanitarian context and focuses particularly on small-scale livestock keepers rather than commercial livestock production, for whom livestock are a key livelihood asset. It provides guidance for designing and implementing livestock responses and aims to improve the readiness, appropriateness, and quality of emergency response, providing practical support and practical tools. And some of you may already be familiar with the Sphere Handbook, the humanitarian standards, and LEGS draws on experience from Sphere and is a member alongside Sphere of the Humanitarian Standards Partnership. I'm just going to pause and make sure, can you hear me all right before I continue?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So the main LEGS resource is the LEGS Handbook. The first edition was published in 2009, second in 2014, and the latest edition was published last year in 2023. And it's available in English, Arabic, French, and Spanish. And each edition draws on evidence-based good practice from around the world, and is based on a global consultation with practitioners and policymakers. And obviously FAO have been a key partner in this, as Daniela mentioned, alongside many other organizations, and WOAH staff have contributed their comments on previous editions as well. So the handbook is made up of two main sections. The first part presents some general principles, but then focuses on decision-making and planning, and includes participatory tools for emergency response planning. And then there are 6 technical chapters focusing on the key areas where livestock-based interventions may be taking place in an emergency, namely feed, water, veterinary support, shelter, offtake, and the provision of livestock. LEGS does not cover transboundary diseases. Obviously, there are many other resources like FAO Empress, already been mentioned, and the WOAH guidance and the codes. Nor does it focus on companion animals because it targets specifically livestock that contribute to livelihoods. And these 6 technical chapters all include standards, key actions, and guidance notes, as SPHERE and other humanitarian standards do. And Daniela mentioned the FAO manual, which is complementary to LEGS, focusing on livestock-related interventions during emergencies, and the two work together, and the FAO manual provides more specific technical detail. Looking at animal welfare in emergencies and LEGS in particular, you'll all be familiar, I'm sure, with the 5 domains or 5 freedoms of animal welfare. And these are the basis of LEGS and are presented in the handbook and the introduction alongside references to the WOAH codes. And this reflects the fact that appropriate livestock-based emergency response should protect and support good animal welfare. The two are intrinsically combined. The LEGS stages and tools for emergency response planning are based on a simple planning cycle. Stage 1 is initial assessment. Stage 2, response identification. Stage 3, analysis of interventions and options. And Stage 4, response planning. And they're all underpinned by monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. And each of these 4 stages includes a number of mostly participatory tools that you can see in the grey boxes underneath each one. And for example, the initial assessment checklists include questions both on the impact of the emergency in general and specific questions on animal welfare. Another example of the participatory planning tools I mentioned is the Participatory Response Identification Matrix, or PRIM, which sounds a bit fancy, but is basically a table that facilitates stakeholders coming together and planning together to determine the most feasible, appropriate, and timely intervention according to the stage of the emergency. And once the intervention areas have been prioritized, LEGS provides standards and specific guidance in those 6 technical chapters that I mentioned. So animal welfare is embedded throughout this guidance. And just going back to the 5 domains briefly, the feeds chapter obviously addresses the first domain, the provision of nutrition and support to animals. The water chapter likewise. The vet support chapter addresses health and the mental state and well-being of the livestock. The chapter on shelter addresses environment, health, and mental state. The livestock offtake chapter addresses health and mental state. And the provision of livestock chapter points out that animal welfare is relevant and should be, and all 5 domains should be met in the way that restocking and provision of livestock projects are implemented. Going back briefly to the planning tools, another LEGS planning tool is the decision tree. And in each of the technical chapters, there is a decision tree that helps the process of planning on the ground, identifying which is the most appropriate option within any particular intervention. As you'll see, if you can answer yes to the question, you follow the tick and the solid arrow. If you can't, you follow the dotted line and the cross, and you end up potentially at no action unless you can go back and you can actually address those issues. With the core of each chapter, however, is the standards, key actions, and guidance notes, and these are the ones for the livestock offtake chapter, and they also explicitly reference animal welfare issues. For example, standard 4 of the livestock offtake chapter focuses on slaughtering livestock for consumption. And within that, there are key actions and guidance notes on slaughter methods, for example, as you can see an extract of that there. Finally, just to briefly give you an idea of the legs resources and support that are available, as it's clear, the handbook is the key resource. It's available from the publisher via our website in hard copy, but it's also available as a free downloadable PDF. We have an interactive platform where you can engage with the handbook more creatively in that sense. We have a global training program which has been running since 2009, based on training of trainers courses where people are trained to become legs trainers who then deliver our core training course. The core training course is designed for practitioners and implementers of emergency response on the ground. It's a participatory in-person 3-day course, and it helps the participants to learn how to apply the legs approach and put the guidance and standards into practice. There have now been 36 legs trainings of trainers courses around the world, resulting in over 400 active legs trainers. Over 500 legs core training courses have taken place in 55 countries. We also have short awareness sessions for managers and donors who don't need the full 3-day training. Since you're all from the African region, I just pulled out a few quick figures from our training in the continent. There are at least 145 accredited legs trainers who've delivered 350 trainings courses in 25 countries and reached over 7,000 people. We've also, in the recent years, developed online training resources to complement the in-person training. We have an online core training, which with the same content. And we also have self-paced e-modules focusing on drought, gender, and a legs refresher. And finally, we've got a range of supplementary tools and resources such as briefing papers and discussion papers covering different specific topics, as you can see there. We have a drought tool, an evaluation tool, and a new joint assessment tool focusing on both livestock and crops, and some short videos which present the key aspects of the legs approach. As a result of this, legs is now a key reference for a range of international organizations, local and international NGOs, national governments, and some donors for the design, implementation, and evaluation of emergency interventions and for donor appraisal. We're also working with key stakers in specific countries to identify focal point organizations to take the lead on institutionalizing legs and embedding it in those countries. And this photograph shows senior staff from the National Drought Management Authority in Kenya. The NDMA is now the legs institutional focal point in Kenya. To engage with legs, please do sign up to our mailing list, which is available via the website. To get our newsletter, download a copy of the handbook or purchase it or look at it on the interactive platform. Join or commission a legs core training course so that, in particular for those of you present, maybe some of your staff in your departments and particularly those at field level might benefit from a legs core training. Watch the short video, which only lasts about 5 minutes, which you can share with your colleagues. And that's available on the website. Or please feel free to get in touch directly. I also gather that Patrick has kindly issued a short flyer about legs, so all the contact details and the website information is available there for you. So all that remains is to say thank you very much for your time.
Let us have a loud applause for Kathy. Yeah, it's time for the plenary to raise their issues and also Kathy to respond. Yes? Any questions or any clarifications that you'd want done? Silence means consent. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome to Kenya next time.
Thank you.
I now hand over to Patrick to take us through the next session. Thank you.
So this was the last presentation in the session on emergencies and animal welfare. I can feel the energy dropping in the room by the minute. I think soon we'll have to call in the medics to take some people out horizontally. Let me not extend this unnecessarily. Let's quickly move to a short session, and I want you to take out your phones again or your laptops and quickly connect to a third and last Mentimeter session. So this last Mentimeter session will start it. We'll use it to just kickstart a short discussion on the terms of reference for focal points and whether we need to rethink the approach a little bit. So please connect to menti.com as you did on Monday and I think Tuesday. On Tuesday and on Wednesday. Menti.com. And the code is 74823273. The code is 74823273. You can also use the QR code. Can you give me some help here? Any reason why this is not being projected?
So you should, yes, Windows, then P.
Is that a duplicate problem again?
Yeah.
We only have one person connected at the moment. Oh, it's the number, okay. So the number is 7482 3273. 3273. This is a French computer, you're going to have fun.
Display.
Your salary, because I think we have it on both screens now. Yes. So we've got 7 people connected. Again, 74823273. So the Mentimeter will be based on the document that you find in your folder with the current 5 terms of reference of OIE/WOAH focal points. Anyone having problems connecting? I only have 11 people online. Please click the like button so that we know whether you're actually online. Seven 4823273. Okay, I think we'll start. I can't really see how many people are online at this point. So we'll just go through, very simple, go through the 5 terms of reference. You just give us your opinion. Do we keep it as it is? Does it need to be amended? Or is it rubbish and we do away with it? Okay, I hope I'm not getting too many of those, the third option, but you know, it's possible. And at least that will give us an inroad into a discussion on what maybe we should be changing in those terms of reference. And please keep in mind that there are things other than those 5 terms of reference that you can suggest to us. So let's start with the first one. You should see that on your screen now. You have 3 options. To establish a network of animal welfare experts within his or her country, or to communicate with the existing network. Okay, seems like we now have 25 people voting, which is approximately the number of focal points that we have in the room, I think. 26. Okay, so that's a clear yes. Keep it as it is. Then, to establish and maintain a dialogue with the competent authority for animal welfare in his or her country, and to facilitate cooperation and communication among several authorities where responsibility is shared. I think somebody yesterday said, you know, animal welfare of dog population control is under the Ministry of Health, whereas all the other animal welfare issues are under the Ministry of Agriculture, and then maybe the Ministry of Fisheries or Wildlife could have another say. So yeah, so that's like 100% of people want it to be, okay, not 100%. We have a disruptive element in the room who will have to explain to us what needs changing. What needs changing? Who wrote this? Yes. Sorry, let me get you a microphone and then we'll...
Yeah, there's a mic here. Okay, I'm more inclined to saying if we are not the relevant authority, I mean, it comes out as if we want to shift the responsibility. I know there are certain organizations that are advocating for animal welfare, but I feel it is more a responsibility of us, the vets, than those. So I feel like we are shifting the responsibility. That is why I'm an outlier there. Thank you.
Maybe it's a matter of interpreting the sentence, because I think the responsibility lies with the veterinary authority, and the recommendation is to reach out to other competent authorities.
Okay, if I may comment, you find that we have some people who are appointed for persons who are not actually not under the competent authority. Like my predecessor was not under the competent authority. I think that's why it's coming the way it is.
Yeah.
There are some countries whereby the competent authority is not, the focal person is not within the competent authority.
Yeah. As I'm rereading the sentence, I think you're actually right, because you to establish and maintain a dialogue with the competent authority for animal welfare. So that's, yeah, that leaves the door open to different interpretations, especially if it's not a veterinary authority. Who is it, and is that a good thing? So yeah, maybe Leopoldo, we need to just take this back to Paris and see whether this is worth, and especially if it's repeated in other regional trainings, then maybe we need to look at it again. Okay, thank you for those inputs. Third one is to receive from the WOAH headquarters copies of the reports of the Terrestrial Animal Health Standards Commission, including reports of the WOAH Animal Welfare Working Group, which doesn't exist anymore, so this is old text, and other relevant reports. Everybody is aligned on this one, apparently. So, on the understanding that the part about the working group will have to be removed, but otherwise, I don't think anyone objects to receiving documents from WOAH headquarters. Thank you. Then, to conduct the in-country consultation process with recognized animal welfare experts on draft texts proposed in those reports, as well as draft standards proposed by the Code Commission when dealing with animal welfare. And I think there's even a longer part of that phrase that is too long for Mentimeter. Can I have the terms of reference again? It's okay, this is the whole sentence. So to conduct the in-country consultation process with recognized animal welfare experts on draft texts proposed in those reports, as well as draft standards proposed by the Code Commission when dealing with animal welfare. Again, it seems that people are unanimous. Okay, and I think then we move to the last one. To prepare comments for the delegate on each of the relevant meeting reports reflecting the scientific view and position of the individual member and or the region. As I explained to you yesterday, the region here in Africa is an important player, including comments on the proposals for new or revised WOAH standards related to animal welfare. Okay, again, I think we had 27 people online, 26 are saying keep it as it is, so this is a clear yes. Now let's discuss this, because what we now know is that what we like or possibly need to change in the existing terms of reference. A much more interesting discussion is what do we need to add, and not even purely on the terms of reference, but also on the way we conduct our business. Currently, the aim is to train you every 2 years. I'm not sure what the budget is for this training, but it's probably around $80,000 to do this. This is also one of the reasons why we don't manage to do it every 2 years, because it's very hard to find funding to do this kind of training. So after what we learned from COVID, after we all have laptops with Zoom, can we not imagine other things? I'm not excluding, of course, the face-to-face meetings or trainings that I find extremely useful and fruitful, but that we don't have to wait 2 years before we see each other and Leopoldo has grown gray hairs and is unrecognizable. So, you know, are there other methods? We have other focal points that have moved to a kind of working group that is not even supervised by WOAH. It's just the focal points getting together. I think wildlife, there's work on AMR ongoing. So I'm open, my ears are wide open for your suggestions on all these topics.
Thank you very much. My comment is, from the 3 days that we are here together, I think we can all agree that reporting is key in what we are aiming to do, and we may agree also that the reporting that we've been doing, or that is there, if any, may not be sufficient. So maybe in terms of reference, we could include the part that talks about focal points, or through the delegate, actually providing the reporting or the reports of animal welfare activities, depending on the tools that are available, to provide that data that I think will be important for our work. Thank you.
Yeah, same thing. That's why I picked up my hand, same thing.
Any other suggestions? I see Rwanda, I see Gambia.
Yeah, I'm also suggesting, hence in Africa here we are very low in terms of achievements, and then we want to see each country what updates they may be making. I'm suggesting if we can, or can develop a kind of an assessment tool that's going to be online, where all of us will have access, and then we'll be updating this, quarterly or so that the data will come direct, and then analysis can be done to know where we are.
When you comment, think that you're a focal point for WOAH, but you're also a focal point for AU. So WOAH doesn't need to do everything necessarily, especially when it's specific to the African region, as you are suggesting. And maybe there are other institutions that can take on some of those tasks.
Thank you for this opportunity. Also, personally, I have learned a lot. My suggestion is that as we conclude these trainings, maybe as we learn from each other, that in some countries they are like animal welfare working group or other movement, but for the other countries, nothing have been done. So I'm suggesting maybe through AIBA to officially empower us delegate that after this training, maybe to recommend to our state saying it needs to establish maybe animal welfare working group, kind of, so that we have the same basics. Of course, we shall do the report and advocate, but this could be very supportive. Thank you.
Any other contributions? This is Nigeria.
Yes, mine is just to say, since everybody now is complaining of money, fund to do activities. Yes, the WOAH from WOAH maybe all along the line. So I would suggest maybe along the line, since we say, if possible, like every 2 years, that's when we are able to do this program. Maybe the year that we will not hold, we can do Zoom meeting, so that at least if there's any challenge, you can find out. And where there is challenge, you hear about it, so that you can enable you prepare better before the next meeting will commence. Thank you.
My ears are still wide open. But your eyes are closed. You're all very tired.
I thank you. I think I'm just remembering Ifran, that, you know, in our regional communities, I think also, I do not know how we maybe even advocate for that ourselves, but yeah, I think also those regional working groups where you know, Gregory, you mentioned yesterday, we used to have those meetings, we have to have trainings, so I think those are as well helpful. So it's something that can be explored in these economic communities.
Yeah, just to be clear, all regional economic communities are invited to these trainings. We don't pay for them, but they are all invited. And apart from EU-IBAR, none of them showed up, not even those that are based in Nairobi. Okay, I won't name any names, but it's a bit disappointing. So we would have liked to hear their views as well. Some of the regional economic communities have sub-regional strategies in place that they hopefully expect to implement before they expire. And so, yeah, maybe having initiatives at the regional economic community level, such as SADC in your case, could be a way to start. I mean, I'm not here to flag the banner of WOAH. I just want things to move. And I don't care whether it moves at your national government's level or whether it's the regional economic community that you're part of that moves the agenda, or EU-IBAR. I really don't care, as long as it's moving. Okay, Agol, words of wisdom from experience.
I'm not sure whether it is a word of wisdom or whether the animal welfare has taken a long time for me to claim the experience. But while thinking, Bas, I think I heard that maybe one meeting like this would cost $80,000. And if I cross that one coming to Jacaranda and eat it, I better get 10,000 in my country and do something. Yes, because I have legal framework to do, I have something to do in there, and if I can get 10,000 3 times in 3 years, I will be happy to have done something in the country. Thank you.
I get your point, but yeah, there are more than 8 countries in the room. Eh? So if you start dividing, you just need to divide by 27, my friend. And then it may not be that all that consequential as a budget to work with. In any case, WOAH is not there to fund animal welfare activities in the countries.
Not
another word of wisdom from...
Yes. The suggestion about using technology, maybe in between the 2 years, we could have a virtual one which would cost us less. Because welfare activities in my country, that's my president and my responsibility. So WOAH can only give us technical advice. I know you don't have a bank account which is bottomless, so I cannot speak on behalf of others, but the virtual one, I think you can help us find a 2-hour or a 6-hour website, which a free Wi-Fi, I think it's available, which we can use to report on progress. And then the second one was now maybe a small template that can be put on automatic. Maybe every 6 months it comes to your inbox to say, can you report on something that has happened in your country in terms of welfare? Maybe half a year, people can report to WOAH on what is happening in their small corners of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's very helpful. Any other ideas, or have we exhausted we are exhausted, but have we exhausted the possibilities? There is always the possibility of piggybacking on other initiatives, of course. We have a regional conference coming up in Ethiopia next year. Maybe there's an opportunity there, but again, usually it's only the delegates who are invited to those conferences, not the focal points. But that doesn't mean that we can't talk about animal welfare. Doesn't always have to be the focal point. Was there a request for the microphone from?
I didn't.
Yes. For once, we have a bit of time.
Okay.
So
I just want to say we are waiting in Ethiopia to come everyone. So we are waiting with arms wide open to everyone. Thank you.
We have created a kind of WhatsApp group where currently the animal welfare focal persons will be connecting and networking amongst ourselves. So each country, if you have issues, you may want, to learn from another country or so, we can always communicate through that one. So we have created that one. So we don't know how far that can have some impact as far as the work of WOAH is concerned, and AU.
Thank you. Noted. Okay. I think at this juncture, we're going to start closing the meeting. The shopping malls are not open day and night, so there is a certain urgency to the matter. And let me. How are we going to do this? Because we don't have a high table. Not sure how to handle the short closing. Would you, Huyam, welcome. I hadn't seen you coming in. Leopoldo, do you want to represent? Since you're used to this podium now, would you like to represent WOAH at the closing? I asked whether Neo would attend, but I see no reply from him at the moment. He's probably in a meeting himself. And Jane, are you going to represent Alan? That's fine. In that case, I will simply ask you to come to the podium one by one. I will leave you to last as last one. We also have the small matter of the certificates of attendance to distribute, for which I call you all to step in. Let me start by AU IBAR and invite Huyam Sally to deliver some closing remarks. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon to all. I have a very short closing remarks. So, with the respect for all the protocol in the room, as we are concluding this workshop, I want to express my sincere gratitude to all of you for your active participation and dedications, and also I've listened for some of the suggestions, including AU IBAR, during this discussion. The discussion and the knowledge shared over the past days have been invaluable, highlighting the crucial role each of you plays in advancing the animal welfare across Africa. I want also to thank WOAH for organizing this workshop and also for inviting us as AU IBAR to participate. This workshop has underscored the importance of collaboration, not just within our countries, but across the continent. The regional challenges we have identified remind us of the diverse contexts we work in, the different roles we play, and the need for tailored approaches that address specific needs. It's not working? I think it's working, yeah. This will be achieved through applying the multi-stakeholder approaches in One Health and One Welfare, which are dear to AU IBAR in its mandate to coordinate the collaboration in the development and sustainable utilization of the animal resources sector in Africa. As country animal welfare focal points, your efforts are vital in ensuring the well-being of the animals, which in turn support broader goals of sustainable development and public health. The tools and strategies we have discussed here will empower you to drive meaningful change in your respective countries. I encourage you to take the insights gained here back home and continue building stronger frameworks for animal welfare. Together we can overcome obstacles and ensure that Africa actively participated in the humane and ethical treatment of animals. I want to conclude also by ensuring that from our side as AU IBAR and through the rest of this year, we will proceed with the operationalization of the African platform for the animal welfare and the formulation of the technical working group, so that your inputs and reporting is to be reflected at the continental level to inform the plans and the actions towards the implementation of the African strategy for animal welfare. Thanks again to all the speakers and the organizing team for making this workshop a success. And let us carry forward this momentum and work together to make a lasting impact. I wish you safe travel back, and thank you to all of you.
No presentation this time. No more serious. Then thanks, Dr. Sari, and thanks AU IBAR for the participation and collaboration. And also I would like to thank the colleague from Kenya, and also especially the delegate, and also you participants that in 2019 was my first time that I came to Africa, and it was a real nice experience. And then this time it's a kind of confirmation of the potential that you have to continue working in this area. I would like to say that not necessarily, you not necessary. You don't need to be discouraged with the challenges, difficulties. I just mentioned one nice phrase of a former and already disappeared president of the Animal Welfare Working Group, Dr. David Babel, who always says that animal welfare is not a destination, it's a journey, and that journey can be quite long, quite difficult, but at the end, I hope that we are going to arrive. Some of them, they will take less time than others, but I think that you are in the right way. You have the courage. You have the more and more knowledge, and I think that it's quite important. Then I'm going back to Paris quite happy with the outcomes of the meeting. I hope that you also, as you know me quite well now, you are going to be able and feel free to contact me directly. You have my email address. Please don't hesitate to do that. I quite open. In Chile, we are quite informal in terms of communication, and communication also facilitates when you are invited to ask your question, and I will do my best to answer you as far as my knowledge can be available. I would like also to thank all the facilitators that did an excellent job, from FAO, Daniela, Julia from ICFO, from World Animal Protection, Maria, Lisa and Rebecca. I think that there was and Victor, sorry. I think that without them the work will be difficult, and also I would like to thank the technicians. I think that they did an excellent job, and thanks for that, and also to the colleagues that were in the other side of the screen by video conference. Then once again, thank you very much. I am quite happy with the results, and also I thanks Patrick for the excellent organization together with the colleagues and the colleagues from the regional office. And I hope next time I only will have one presentation from my side. Then thank you very much, and also have a safe trip back home.
Before I hand the microphone to Kenya to close the meeting, I have a vote of thanks from the delegate of Malawi.
Good afternoon this evening. On behalf of the participants, the focal points, I would like to thank the organizers, in a special way Patrick Beastersen, we call him Baz. Leopoldo, I think everybody else will send you a token of appreciation in whatever kind. From South Sudan, it will not be money. And AU IBA Director General, Madam, we are indebted to you. Delegate from Kenya, represented by my one and only new mama from 2 hours from Nairobi. Facilitators, we are very grateful for your knowledge, your insights. Next time Patrick invites you, please don't hesitate to come. We'll contribute towards a small part of the ticket, and we'll pray that the planes are not delayed, so you come very early in the morning. Colleagues, I think this was a good introduction to professionals. Fellow colleagues, we share the same goal. United we stand, divided we fall. And then communication team, I think you did a good job. Yesterday we saw a very good pictures, and then people online. This is the English-speaking team from Africa. We are very grateful and thankful that we were hosted here at Jacaranda. Take our gratitude to both the regional office here as well as to the delegate for Kenya, that we were very grateful. We were treated to a good meal yesterday. The drinks were also enough. A few people didn't drink because of religious slaughter issues. So next time we have discussed enough about animal welfare. When you go, don't forget our faces. Remember us. We are going to do our part in our countries to make sure whatever we have discussed in these 3 days goes a long way towards improving animal welfare, which in the long run will improve the welfare of humankind on earth. With these few remarks, we say thank you very much, organizers. Thank you, Baz. Thank you, everyone. Travel in God's mercies. Thank you.
All protocols observed. Good evening. It's I think it's slightly late in Swahili. If it was afternoon, I would have greeted you habari ya dhuhuri. That is good afternoon. Ya adhuhuri. Asubuhi, or in the morning, we say habari ya asubuhi. So you keep on learning. There's still more time up to tomorrow. We are here now. We came, we met. We didn't know one another. We didn't know even how to communicate. But the good thing is we gelled. Maybe for this room, the only people who had come outside Kenya whom I could recognize were only two. My colleague from Rwanda and my colleague from Botswana. This is why it is good, though we are saying because of finances, that physical meetings may be few. But you can see now, I have two whom I met sometimes back in Botswana. Now I've already gotten others whom now I can be able. Daniela, we met online. Today we met face to face. There is a friend now called Julia. You can see it's good also to meet face to face once in a while. The journey was long from the beginning up to now. And I must say we have learned a lot. We came here with an open mind. And we have taken home a lot. We've shared experiences from different countries. We've shared the bad and the good. And I hope from this place, we take the good experiences from other countries and also apply them in our context. This is Africa. Africa is our business. And we are going as Africa to take it to a greater height. If we apply what we have gone through in an African context, we are going to achieve the best welfare for our animals. The animals need a voice. We are the voice of the animals. Let us talk on their behalf. Let us advocate for the animals' rights. Let us institutionalize what we should do to make sure that animals are happy and living in a good environment. It is our time now. Others will come after us. What will they say? Let us leave a good legacy on animal welfare at this particular time. Of course, there are bottlenecks which we have seen, and we have also suggested solutions on how to go about them. For our development partners, you have heard where our problems are. We call upon you to come in and assist us in achieving our goals on animal welfare. Some of them may be materially, others may be knowledge. We promise that we are going to put all our efforts to achieve what we should achieve on animal welfare. The issue of the development of legal framework, we have found there are countries who maybe are lacking in the legal framework. It's good that we also network so that in case we need to help one another on how to come about with the legal framework, we are there. On how to even develop multi-sectoral forums for enforcement. On how to implement the issue of creating awareness, because what we need most from this place is behavioral change. The minute our community start looking at animals as beings that need to be happy, everything and everywhere, you find that we will not have any more problem of animal welfare. So let us sensitize the community as we move from there, from here. We have formed a WhatsApp group. Let us communicate. In that WhatsApp group, let us not be silent listeners to every conversation. Let us also contribute. I feel happy as I thank WOAH for organizing this workshop, and even the TORs that have been developed. One of them is about reporting. You have heard the cry of the focal persons here that they have no tool for reporting. So you give us the tool, you will get the reports. It's decide on how many times we should report. We are there. We will be gathering information and reporting on what is going on. The facilitators, thanks a lot for your knowledge sharing. We are happy and we are going home, people who are enlightened. You are very resourceful and you are very patient with us. We thank you very much. And at this time, I know you want more time to walk around Nairobi. There's still day. You know, we usually say enjoying Nairobi at night. But it is still day, so some of the malls and even our city market where you find African wear are open. So please, take something that you show that you are from Kenya. Just take something. I know whichever country I go, I come back with a souvenir and I keep it there to count the many countries where I've been. I wish you safe travel back to your homes. And for those who feel like you can come back and settle, there is what we call in Sheng here, plot maguta maguta. That is, you know, they are just plots. You can come settle with us. We will come all. You can come and become a Kenya citizen. You are welcome. And at this juncture, I want to declare the regional training seminar for WOAH national focal points on animal welfare officially closed. Thank you.
Jane, don't run away, because we still have to release our participants with a certificate of attendance. And if you can help me with that, that would be great. I'll try to read out the names. And this is Mpox, so no kissing. Not even on the cheeks. It may destroy your marriage as well. That's probably worse than Mpox. And then we will allow you to be on your way on my behalf as well. Thank you very much and safe travels back. We'll start with Angola, Francisco Sebastião.
Who is taking the photos?
A can't multitask.
Next is Paul Mokoka from Botswana. Hago, Ethiopia. Dr. Bavukile, Eswatini. Alabatu Jata, Gambia. Actually, they are alphabetically arranged. Dr. Jata.
Gambia. Where is Leopoldo?
Dr. Benjamin Sasso, you're next.
Would you like to show something? This one?
Photo.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
Dr. David, Mauritius. Dr. Julius Chulo.
Come here. Your mom wants to give you a certificate. Your mama. Your mama.
Dr. Roland, Liberia. Dr. Lefeana from Lesotho. Miss Wim, Libya. Next is Dr. Susanna, Mozambique. Dr. Tangeni, Namibia. Dr. Johanna Hilia, Nigeria. Dr. Jean, Rwanda. Dr. Joseph Samai, Sierra Leone. Dr. Gira Stephen from Seychelles. Dr. Andrea Yelia, South Africa. Dr. Ago from South Sudan. Dr. Hashi, Somalia. Dr. Annette, Tanzania. Dr. Otato from Uganda. Dr. Gregory Mululuma from Zambia.